The first movement after Impressionism is Post-Impressionism. In an art history course, or maybe a junior level seminar on the cultural history of the 19th century, you might learn all kinds of differences between Impressionism and Post-Impressionism. For us in this course, I think there's really only one distinction to keep in mind, and that is that Post-Impressionism comes after Impressionism. If you can keep that straight, then you'll do just fine as far as I'm concerned. As we look at some Post-Impressionists, you may pick up intuitively on some differences, but we're just going to keep on the same line of thought here. A good place to start looking at some Post-Impressionists is on page 107 in your textbook. Page 107, you have a painting at the top of that page, figure 1617 on page 107, Georges Seurat's Sunday on La Grande Jatte. La Grande Jatte is an island in the middle of the Seine River in Paris. It's a lot like Central Park in New York City, a little bit of countryside in the middle of the city. It's certainly Seurat's most famous individual work. Seurat is most famous for a technique which he uses, a technique called pointillism. Pointillism, or sometimes you'll hear that pronounced and spelled as pontillism. They're both okay, it's just one sounds more English and one sounds more French, pointillism or pontillism. Pointillism means painting with little dots of color. It's an interesting technique, a fascinating technique to watch someone use when they're painting. You start off with an empty canvas, the blank canvas, and then you take a brush and you put some paint on it, I'd say red, and then you move the brush across the canvas, tapping the canvas with the very tip of the brush, leaving behind just a little dot of paint, and then you go back over it with purple and green and brown until you build up the forms. The forms start to form on the canvas. I'm going to show you some detail of this part of the painting over here, just right in the center. I'm going to zoom in on this part of the painting. As we move closer, you begin to see the little dots of color where the paint's been applied very lightly with the tip of the brush. And moving in for an even closer look, you can even make out the texture of the canvas underneath the paint there and see the little bitty tap points of color there. I'm going to show you a detail of the face of the man over to the left-hand side of the painting. There we go. And you see as you get closer to the painting, there's all kinds of different colors that are being applied there. There's blue in the face and green and yellow and all kinds of different colors that when you back away blend together to form different colors. Excuse me. This painting, Seurat's Sunday on La Grande Jatte, he paints the scene several different times. This is a very refined form of pointillism, the most famous of the series of paintings and the most famous painting by Seurat. If you've seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, you may recognize the painting. This is the one that's in the Art Institute of Chicago, and that painting plays a significant role in that great epic American film. Also, I've got some here to show you that aren't in the textbook, just to reinforce the point. Here we have a circus scene. I'm going to show you a detail of the circus master's face over here. And there again you see all the different colors that are used to communicate the facial features. Seurat does a number of seascapes. I've got some here. Notice that we zoom in on the sand, the ivory sand color over here. We see that there's all kinds of other colors in there. Blues and yellows and reds and purples and so on that all blend together to form that sandy color. And just for good measure, another seascape here. You see the lighthouse and a boat out in the water and a dock there. And then as you get closer to the painting, you see all the different colors that go into building up the forms, building up the shapes of the buildings here. So Seurat is a good place to start with Post-Impressionism.